This is the launch of a new series for the channel. In this series, I'm going to break down some directional tactics you should stick to when fighting certain planes. This is aimed toward players that are newer and unfamiliar with certain matchups. The idea is that without you knowing everything, you can get a foundational understanding of how you should approach these matchups with these bite-sized videos. Will the lessons here apply to every single fight you will get into? No. The point of this approach is to give you a baseline understanding so you can build on top of it as you get better. If this is your first time here, this channel focuses on multiplayer sim gameplay, so if you're into that, please subscribe. As this is the first video in the series, I thought it would be appropriate to talk about how to shoot down IL-2s in a more quick and efficient way. This plane is known as the flying tank for good reason. It can seriously soak up ammo, which is bad for two reasons. First is that you will have less ammo for your next engagement, and the second thing is that if you have to make multiple passes on this thing, you expose yourself to a lot of risk, as these things are always low on the deck. Now, the quickest and most ideal way to kill an IL-2 is to snipe the pilot, and this sounds obvious, but it's easier said than done. So let's go through some examples. So first example here, we see an IL-2 that's hit the front, and he's turning around, so we're going into a merge, and I'm high above him. And instead of going right after him, what I do is I pull up, and I'm going to let him pass under me. And the idea here is I'm waiting for an opportunity for where the pilot is exposed, and I have a nice deflection to hit the pilot, which comes up right here. And in order to do this, you have to remember about the IL-2's perspectives. He's over our front line, he's low and slow and dumping payload, and he's essentially on borrowed time. He wants to get out of there as quickly as possible, so he's just there corkscrewing around very low, trying to snipe the targets and to get out. And in the second example, you're going to see what happens when the ideal opportunity doesn't show up immediately. So I'm too slow, I can't catch this guy at the apex of his turn, so I miss my angle. So I hold up above him, and then I pull down in order to get a high angle deflection shot on his pilot. And I see that because he's so low to the ground, I can't do it safely, so I pull back up. Now, we know where this guy is going. He's just hitting the targets, and he's so laser focused on the ground that he's probably just corkscrewing, looking at the ground. And again, I come in for a high angle deflection. And you can see how much ammo I'm using. It's not really that much, and I'm able to kill these guys pretty quickly. So let's go into the last example for pilot snipes before we get into radiators. I'm in a 110 here, and this guy is not corkscrewing on the deck. He's actually chasing after someone, but his path is telegraphed, and I'm going to abuse that because I come down over the top of him, and I'm going to lead a little bit too much, which is okay because I'm really trying to aim for the pilot or the engine. And you can see there's no puffs of HE rounds landing. I pretty much only hit with machine gun rounds or AP cannon rounds in the cockpit, and it was still enough to kill him. Now, what if you can't get a pilot snipe? What if the opportunity doesn't arise? And that's fine, because you can go for radiator shots. They aren't an instant kill, but they will disable the target. And just so we're on the same page, what I mean by the radiator is the air duct on the bottom of the IL-2. If you are able to aim for this and put a small burst into it, you will disable the radiator, which in turn will disable the engine of the IL-2. These are great to aim for when you are bouncing IL-2s that are on autopilot heading toward target, which we see here. Now, there are a few considerations when doing this. If they have a tail gunner, they may freak out and go defensive while you're doing your bounce, so make sure you approach from a very low position. 2, it's very easy to shoot the tail wheel when you're aiming for the radiator, so be careful with that. And 3, the most efficient way to do this is just to disable the radiator, then leave the IL-2 alone, because their engine will seize up. The issue with this, though, is that someone else can steal your kill, and or the IL-2 may be able to get to a friendly airfield before his engine gives up. Now, in this example, I caught this IL-2 just behind their front lines, and he knows his engine's going to give out, so he decides to ditch it before he even crosses into enemy territory in order to save his pilot. In the next example, we're going to do a controlled test on the training server. I'm going to let you hear what the IL-2 pilot is experiencing after he gets hit.
Oil system failure.
Oil system failure?
Yeah, my screen's filling up with black. I got oil on the hood.
Okay, just keep it going like that. Let's see how long you last.
Engine damaged. Engine damage now. Engine structure failure. There it goes. Engine's dead.
Now the last thing I want to say as a tip is don't forget that these things have guns, which sounds silly to say, but I just want to show you this example of me flying an IL-2 and I got bounced by 190. And these things can hit pretty hard, so be really careful with head-ons against these things, pulling up against these things. Like, they're actually pretty stable. In an early war, you can get surprised by these. I hope you guys found this helpful. This is a new series, and I'm going to be doing more of these. Please consider subscribing, and have a good one. Thank you.
Bye.